Stargazers. This is Sandra from 7th House Astrology coming to you today when it comes to part two of Dark Night of the Soul, the astrology of Dark Night of the Soul. I thought I would include this because I personally have been going through Dark Night of the Soul, especially with a job loss. For some, it could be through grief of some sort. Sometimes it can just kind of happen. Most times, though, there's a huge life transition that kind of comes with Dark Night of the Soul, and it can be kind of, it can be super heavy and quite earth-shattering as well. And since I've noticed that it is earth-shattering, I thought I would start off with some plucking of some cords. I find that's always a benefit, when it comes to healing. So it might help us all to kind of heal a little bit. So again, I'll just kind of So while I'm kind of clearing this aura, so another aspect that can actually indicate Dark Night of the Soul in your chart is either Saturn, and this is from Aaron, A-I-R-E-N, Astrology online. I find it's been a really helpful resource, so if ever you want to check that out, I'll probably link it down in the description notes down below. But Aaron Astrology had mentioned that it could be Saturn and or Pluto transisting the Ascendant in our chart. Now our Ascendant's one of those big three. There's your Sun, there's your Moon, and then the Ascendant is usually how we interact externally with other people. And actually, according to the author of I Don't Believe in Astrology, and actually she's a psychologist who goes into psychological astrology, she had mentioned that the Ascendant can be your soul sign. So taking it from there, when it comes to the Ascendant being your soul sign, I find that, you know, to have either Saturn or Pluto, it really, those are two very, very, very potently heavy planets, with very potent and very heavy themes. I think, you know, for Saturn, obviously there's discipline, there's karma involved, and then Pluto, a sense of either power or sometimes, believe it or not, depending on where it is in the chart, powerlessness can happen, or a craving for power, or just kind of forbearing some, like it's like the biggest dark cloud, you know, storm cloud before the actual, and also the storm. It's like the storm cloud as well as the storm in and of itself. So I really find that to be on the ascendant or also aspecting either the sun or the moon can definitely make sense. It can feel that life as a whole is just really heavy. And especially if Saturn is in that placement as well. And, you know, again, too, with that heaviness, it can just feel life isn't just incredibly unbearable at this time. And actually, I'm just scratching the top and tapping the top of this lavender essential oil. For this time, grounding essences like lavender are really great as well. I just felt like the top kind of gave an awesome sound. But with that heaviness with Saturn, it could just feel like life is just unbearable. It just doesn't, you know, things just don't feel right. Things kind of feel really out of place. Feels like really with the ascendant, the external world feels very heavy and unbearable. And with Pluto, I kind of find, you know, with dark night of the soul, it feels like you're in a void. You know, externally you're kind of in a void. So it just feels like it's just a void that's overpowering. And I find with Pluto being that of destruction, it's kind of like the void after destruction, or after a nuclear bomb has hit. It's like that eerie silence that kind of accompanies it. But yeah, definitely a void is very common to be felt as well. Outside of the moon or the sun, so outside the moon, it can also feel very heavy emotionally. It can feel, especially with Saturn being out there, it could feel that no matter what you try to do, emotionally, it just drags you down. You know, with Saturn just kind of drags you down in the mire at this position. And with Pluto, it can just feel as though you're kind of like powerless, not at the mercy of all that is. Or worse, you're craving power when you don't feel like you have power, which is not a good combination. Let's try the lid on this too. But yeah, and then outside the sun, you know, having overpowering heaviness. Kind of come over the ego. Yeah, and another external factor with yourself. So I think the combination can definitely cause that. dark night of the soul for sure. So what we can do about dark night of the soul. So one thing that I have learned is, well, it's extremely tough and it's extremely hard. I know a lot of sources say keep up on daily meditation. I also found, and I consider this to be shadow work. Shadow work for me being like asking, okay, so I'm feeling a void. What does this mean? Okay, so I'm feeling anxiety right now. What do I need to learn from these emotions? It's not just what does it mean, but what can I learn from these emotions as well? Sometimes this trigger works, sometimes it doesn't. So really, like, say that we're dealing with the void, like, what sort of lessons? Maybe some of those lessons could be, embracing not doing anything. Embracing, the need to not do anything. Maybe embracing a meaning that's like kind of right in front of you, something of meaning that's right in front of you, but you're just not grasping it yet, and maybe you just need to be a little more aware of it. I know I've had those moments myself. Also, maybe, just going out and interacting with people, I think, too, or just going out and experience the present moment can also be very helpful. Something else that's also mentioned with Dark Night of the Soul, doing some shadow work on a regular basis. Really just, I find alchemical journaling can be really helpful with the problem and then some advice when it comes to the problem. Even if it feels like you have to kind of search in yourself for a little bit and really dig, really digging for that advice and reflecting on it. There were some times, especially towards Halloween, where I had to journal and, reflect on why I'm involved with emotionally unavailable people a lot of the time and how to stop. And sometimes that's not just in relationships, that can also be with employers and how exactly I can stop. And I'm still reflecting on that one to this very day. If you don't have an answer, that's okay. That's part of the process and that's part of the journey when it comes to a dark night of the soul as well. And I think above all, hanging in there, just hanging in there as much as possible and seeing what you can do in this moment, especially with those heavy feelings that Pluto and Saturn tend to give. I think with Saturn, it's usually like, what can you be disciplined in? So maybe like, if you can stop, maybe find some meaning in volunteering your time. I think with Pluto, again, reassessing your power. Again, with volunteering your time or getting involved with the community, that could help you gain a sense of purpose as opposed to just pure sheer power over the situation. So stargazers, this is what I do have for today with the Astrology of Dark Night of the Soul. Go ahead and end with a aura clearing. And as Dana Meyer states from Open Air, actually it's ND 1023 in the Denver area, I'm proud of you. and everything's going to be okay. I think that's a good thing to kind of keep in mind for that time being. So until next time, stargazers, I will speak with you then. Be well.